Hello, welcome to the Eventual Knits podcast. My name is Leah. I go by Miss_LJV on Instagram and Eventual on Ravelry. It's been several months, I feel like, since I have last podcasted. It's been such a busy time. Now I feel like I am back and I'm looking forward to doing more podcasts. So the primary thing that I've been busy with is I got married. Steve and I got married on our 15-year anniversary, which we thought was just like a nice like closing of that chapter kind of thing. So we had the most perfect wedding. It was a gorgeous day. It was an outdoor wedding at our local arboretum. Just truly beautiful. I knit myself a shawl for the wedding and it was perfect. It went really well with my dress and again, like just really, really gorgeous for the day. And I'll include some pictures here while I'm talking about it. But that was one of the big events. And then since then, it's just been like getting into the routine with a toddler. Like having a toddler. So our son turned a year old in April and soon after started walking. And I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, just you wait till they start walking. And it's like, yeah, but before he could walk, it was also a lot of like, carry me here, carry me there. I'm angry because I can't go where I want to go, you know, that kind of thing. So it's not really that much different. Also, my tripod is just falling down. Hold on. Nero, why don't you just come around? So it's like, yes, but it's more just changing our routine. He's also, as a toddler, becoming more interested in new things and new experiences. So we try to go places and do more things. And it's just been really busy and exhausting, but I have still been doing a ton of knitting. Really the theme of this podcast is the fact that I've been finishing a ton of things. Like I really have been cleaning up my like whips and my Ravelry. Like you can only see 7 things and we'll talk about those as I go through them. And that's a lot. I've been really finishing a lot, so I'm so proud. Let's start with what I'm wearing. So I am wearing the Prismatic sweater by Wool & Pine. It is a narrow. What narrow? Narrow. Narrow. Okay, I just removed the baby gate that he was acting like was preventing him from coming over here, even though he could have just gone around. Okay, okay, this is the Prismatic sweater by Wool & Pine. I started it in January of this year. I would say that I probably got done with like the yoke pretty quickly, and then it took me quite a long time to do the body. Part of that was because I had it as like my car knitting, because this is a fingering weight sweater, and it takes a long time to knit a lot of stitches in fingering, and so I just kept it in the car and I only worked on it in the car, and that would be for a maximum of like 20 minutes at a time. But I eventually was like, I really want to finish this, and then the body still took quite a while, I feel like, and then I did the sleeves in like 2 or 3 days. So I really like it. It's a good length. I have it not cropped quite. In the back it kind of is cropped almost, which is kind of strange. Not cropped, but it feels shorter in the back than the front, which is very strange since I obviously have like a bust. But I am wearing it correctly. I double checked. But I'll insert some pictures. But I love it. I could not be happier. The gray yarn is bee woolen. It's a bee woolen sock going gray. And then this, actually in the camera it's looking black, but again, hopefully you'll be able to see in the pictures that the like outline of the sort of stained glass look is actually a deep purple, and that's a Knit Circus Breathtaking BFL in Midnight Moon. And then I don't know what this yarn is. It wasn't quite a it was like micro stripes. And I lost the tag. I have no idea. And it was just a one-off skein that I had, and it looks so good with the purple. And I'm so sad I don't know. So if you're watching this and you happen to recognize the dyer, if you were the dyer and you recognize your yarn, please let me know. I don't know. This is my little Mother's Day ghost from Staircase Ceramics. Yeah, Staircase Ceramics, just making sure I had it right. I love it. I love the two people that I've been buying the most from lately are Staircase Ceramics and Oriclay. Oriclay is so good. I actually was turned on to Oriclay from Aro Knits, and I think Aro is just not going to be recording podcasts anymore. Interestingly, I feel like a lot of people get into podcasting when they're going through something or when they're trying to start a new chapter. So it's like Aro and Dundernit, if anyone ever watched Dundernit back in the day, they both sort of felt like I'm using their words, I'm not putting words in their mouth, like that they were sort of missing something or they were trying to start fresh and anew. So like Dundernit had gotten, I think, through a divorce maybe, and when she started her knitting podcast, and then, you know, it was the pandemic, etc. And then I didn't watch Aro from the beginning, so I don't know what got her into her podcast, but she recently mentioned that she's not really going to be posting podcasts anymore because she like now has a long-term partner and she has a dog and a cat and like is just feeling more, I don't want to say fulfilled exactly, but you know, like that there's enough going on in her life now. And you know, Dundernit, as soon as she got a new boyfriend, she recorded like 2 podcasts and then was like, yeah, anyway, I did podcasts until because I was missing something in my life, and now I feel fulfilled, so I don't need to do podcasts anymore, which is totally everybody's prerogative, but I miss them. Like, it's like you get to know these people. Aro posts all the time on Instagram. It's like you're not like seeing her stuff anymore, but I'm still sad. I loved her podcast. But Aro had posted something in her story, and she has like a very, very specific like style and taste, and it's like these like soft pastels, like very subtle pastels, like soft pinks, soft sage, and she has like some like little Oriclay flower mugs that are so cute, and every single time I see them I'm like, oh, I should do something like that. I love that. And then I end up just buying all of Oriclay's Studio Ghibli mugs. They're so cute. I have a No Face coming in the mail, and I absolutely cannot wait. Like, the No Face is the mug that I wanted when I first found it, and she wasn't doing No Face for a while, so I have Soot Sprites, Calcifer, and I think one other. I thought I had one other. Anyway, point is, just getting all the Ghiblis. I love them. But yes, back to that. So I finished this on July 1st, just a couple days ago, and I absolutely love this Bee Woolen Gray. So Bee Woolen is a local yarn store. It's not like directly local to me. I would say it's like 35-40 minutes from where I live, and it's a good store. It's quite a good store, and they have their own line of yarn, and I would say that that's the best thing that they sell. Like, their yarn line is so good, actually, like in the sense of like they do trunk shows and stuff like that, but then they carry a lot of just standard yarns that I feel like a lot of yarn stores have, but they have a whole wall of their own dyed yarns, and it is so good. I'm definitely I need more. Like, I had specifically bought this yarn as like one time when I'm making a sweater, and I want just like a standard, like sort of light gray, I want to just have a sweater quantity of that yarn. And guess what? I found it. I did. I needed it, and I have no regrets. It is such like a nice, like complex, I don't know, I really like it. I like yarns that have character, and I think that the like subtle shade differences between the lighter and darker parts are like a benefit in this case. Like, I think it fits really nicely with this sort of sweater design. I knit the size large for me. So I started in January. I would say in January I was at least 20 pounds heavier than I am now, but I think large ended up working out really well for me. The sweater itself is recommended to have 0 to 6 inches of positive ease. That's interesting. I haven't measured this yet because I just finished blocking it yesterday and then I immediately wanted to put it on. So it definitely has more than 6 inches of positive ease. This has, I would say, at least 8 inches of positive ease, maybe even more. Like, oh yeah. On the chest it might have 6 inches or so, but my chest is my biggest part, so it's bigger in other spots. But I think it's really cozy. It's going to be a great sweater to wear on like cool nights. We spend most of our time in the basement, so it's nice to like be cozy at night. It's very cold. Our air, you know, settles downstairs and does not rise up here, so it's really nice. But this sweater ranges from finished bust of 30 to 67 inches. And the recommended yarn is Seismic Yarn and Dyeworks Butter Sock. And it says 3 and 5 needles. Did I use 3 and 5? I think I did. Yes, I did. I want to say that with this, I'm going to talk about a test knit coming up, and I have decided to just accept that instead of looking at a finished object, and let's say that the finished bust is supposed to be 40 inches, knowing that if I use the correct needles, or the needles that are recommended, that mine will end up at least 42, maybe even 43 or 44. And I'm just starting to size down my needles. I'm accepting that I will need to just do that in order to reach the appropriate gauge. And I'm happy about that. I just need to just do it. The only thing I haven't accepted and done that for is socks, because I don't want to go back down to zeros. At one point I'd even gone down to double zeros when I first started knitting socks, and it's just so much knitting. I really should though, just size down to zeros, but I don't want to. We'll see if I do that, because it's like, Steve has really, really big feet, and it's just, anyway, I need a lot of socks for Steve. But yeah, so that's the Prismatic sweater by Wool & Pine. 10 out of 10, love it, would recommend anyone make it. Perfect. The next thing I want to talk about is the Bedruthan tank by Iris Knits. Sorry, it's called the Bedruthan Camisole. This, I knit the size C on US 2.5 needles. Oh, did I not weave in an end? There might be an end that I didn't weave in. So this ended up being like not quite a cropped tank. It goes basically to, it is cropped, I guess. It is a split hem crop tank, and it goes right to my button on my shorts. It gets a little bit longer in the back. So yeah, I knit the size C. Right now I have a 37.5 inch bust, and I used a US 2.5 needle. The yarn I used for this is Rowan Summer Light 4-ply, and I used almost 3 skeins, and this is the navy ink colorway. So I knit this technically because I wanted to knit like a summer top, but it also happened to fit along with her. She had like a not a knit along exactly, but just sort of like a Discord where she has like certain tops that fit in the summer category or whatever, and then you could knit them for her. I don't know, maybe you can win prizes. Honestly, I don't know. I just joined the Discord. I wasn't really active in it. I just would like go through and like people's stuff. Oh my god. And but I didn't like post in there until I was finished. I would rate this like a 3 out of 5. I feel like the V is pretty deep. The armpits ended up working out better than I thought they would. They are pretty low. Like it goes to like here. So like a good amount of my bra shows, but like I typically sort of wear big sports bras anyway, or like other athletic style bras. So I don't mind them. Honestly, I literally don't care about any of my bras showing, but I feel like I can't remember exactly, but I remembered if kind of feeling like some of the instructions were a little confusing, or just like the way it worked out. I remember when, so you start, you knit in these independently, you knit the back independently, and then you end up joining underneath the armpit and, you know, connecting these. But I remembered being so surprised when it worked out that it connected at the V and you could just keep going and it did not break the pattern. It is ribbed. I think you're supposed to have intended like 0 to -2 ease. Oh, yes, 0 to 2 inches negative ease. I would say this is 0 ease. So I did pretty well on that. This is for busts, or the finished circumference, I think is, yeah, for the actual garment. So the actual garment finishes from a 28 to a 60. With 0 to 2 inches negative ease recommended. When I'm looking at other people's, it looks like it matches up pretty well in terms of like how deep the V is, etc. Part of my issue might just be that I should have just made it just a little bit longer maybe, or maybe it's just a little bit too big on top, so it's just kind of always like coming down. I'm not really sure yet how I feel about it. I wasn't as happy with it as I had wanted to be when I first finished it. And I don't know, like, I don't know exactly what that is, like, if I just don't like the way I look in it or what. Maybe it's just that I just don't like the, like, basically cropped, but not exactly cropped style on me. I feel like maybe it makes me look boxier than I am, and maybe that's the problem. But otherwise, like, it just was a lot of, I mean, it's tiny needles, 2x2 rib, a lot of knitting. But the pattern, so it's the average difficulty of this pattern is 4 out of 10. Yeah, I could see that for sure. But I finished it summer top, as you can see, even through, like, I'm wearing a dark blue shirt underneath. It is vaguely see-through, so that's something to consider if you're using the 2.5 needles and then like a yarn like Rowan. So Rowan is 100% Egyptian cotton. Okay, yeah, so it is nice and light, but it is a little see-through. So that is the Bedruthan Camisole by Iris H, or Iris Knits. The next thing that I want to talk about is actually 2 pairs of socks. So for Mother's Day and for Father's Day, I knit a pair of socks each for a couple of my parents. So for my mom, I knit her a pair, actually it's 2 pairs of Vanilla is the New Black. So it was my first attempt at doing the Vanilla is the New Black pattern. And I don't know if my gauge has just changed so much, or if it's part of the like way that the heel and the whole foot itself is done. But they seem to turn out quite big. Like I don't expect them to turn out as big as they do. So the Vanilla is the New Black pattern says that the smallest size uses 60 stitches, and with a size 1 needle, like, that absolutely does not work for even the average, like my mom wears a size 8 women's US, and I feel like like, so for both my parents, I ended up sizing down quite a bit. So my mom, I ended up actually doing 56 stitches on the foot, and I did say it's the cleverest heel of all time, which is true. It is like a really fun sort of ribbed heel, and maybe that's part of it because it's so stretchy, but I did cut it down to 56, but honestly, I think I would, when I knit her some again, if she likes that heel, I'm going to go down even further. I might even go down to like 50, it's 4s, so even 40 to 52, I don't know, or just size down my needles. But I used Earth Unique fingering for her socks. I'll put a picture up because I don't have them anymore, but they're really cute. It is one long striped gradient because I'm not doing like knee highs. I think the Earth Unique is for quite tall calf socks, and I know that my mom doesn't want socks that tall, but it was really fun. And what's cool is that when you're finished with the heel, you've actually knit quite a bit of the foot as well, so it's like not as much knitting on the foot, but it is really fun. And I finished those in the middle of May. And then for my dad, I did Vanilla's the New Black, and then I did 60 stitches, and he wears a men's US, I can't remember size, like 11 or 12 or something, between 10 and 12, I don't remember. I have like a book that I wrote down like all of my family's foot measurements plus their shoe size, so I went by his like actual foot measurements. But again, the first sock, I was like, man, this is turning out so big. And so I knit the second one smaller, and looking at the picture, it looks like on the one that's a little bit smaller that it is a little tight across the gusset, like on the front top part of his ankle, or like that widest sort of hypotenuse there from the heel to the top of the ankle. So I feel like I might go up or keep the stitches a little higher for that part, and then size back down for the foot for next time. But I really loved, I used a String Theory Colorworks Alloy in Horsehead Nebula, and it's a yarn with some stellina in it, and so it's like nice and shiny, and it's just like a purple and gray alternate, what am I trying to say? Alternating stripes. Okay. And what's interesting is, I'm sorry, getting an Amazon delivery, probably some shoes for Quinn. I have been trying so hard to find a shoe size for him because he needs some hard bottom shoes for school, and his feet are so small. It's impossible, but hopefully those are finally getting delivered, because I've been trying so hard to find him shoes that fit him. But anyway, what's fun is that, you know, on the socks, they ended up exactly opposites, and it was just a happy accident where on the one sock, the very first row, when you're casting on, ended up being like gray, and then did the purple stripes, gray, purple, gray, and then one little strip of the gray, and then back to purple, gray. And then the other sock ended up being the exact inverse, where the cast on just had that one strip of purple, and then the thicker stripes, and then the little strip of purple in the heel section, and then back to thicker. So I don't know, I really like that. I just like that it turned out to have them be like exact opposites. So that was really fun. Both my parents really liked their socks, but I'm just always trying to make the perfect socks, like perfect fit. Nothing is better than the perfect fit sock. So but yeah, I only used 60 stitches, which is so wild to me. When I knit the first sock, I think I did a 62 or a 64. It might have been 64, and then I had tried sizing down, or after the heel I went down to 62, and then I had Steve try them on, and Steve has, again, massive feet, and they are definitely bigger than my dad's. So I had him try them on, and they were like 0 ease to possibly slightly positive ease, and it's like, oh, that's way too big. So I ripped back up to the ankle, and then I sized down, because no, cannot have them that big. So yeah, I'm gonna keep experimenting. Those are the first 2 pairs of socks that I used with Vanilla's The New Black pattern. That's by Anna Fletcher. Yeah, so I'll keep experimenting with it, just because like the heel is so fun, and now, I do love me a good like heel flap and gusset, I really do, but I also really like the cleverness of the sort of ribbed heel, and it's not just a straight rib, it's like a little rib, and it's just so fun. The next thing that I finished was a test knit. So it's someone I've never tested for before. It is Twin Stitches Designs, Julianne Knitter on Instagram, and this is the Sleeveless Gal. And I don't know if it's considered a vest or a tank. Let's see. Okay, so it is categorized as a vest in Ravelry. So I think it's like a thick tank top, really. It's supposed to be oversized. It's not supposed to be super tight. I test knit the size 3, and I ended up with about 42 inches for the bust if you measured right underneath the sleeves. So you can see it's a little bit like, yep. And my upper bust is, at the time, I guess, was 38 inches. So, sorry, I've got some mohair in here, so it's just getting all in my nose. But yeah, so it is a DK vest or 2 fingering weights held together for the test knit. She didn't say that you had to pick fingering held with mohair, but since that's what she did, I wanted to make sure that's what I did. And I had so much fun with this. Some of the instructions were a little confusing. We tried really hard to work with her to, reword some of the directions. It is a pretty clever construction. It's fun. I really enjoyed making it. I ended up using like exactly 1,600 yards, 800 and 800. So if you have fingering weight skeins that are exactly 400 yards, be careful. Technically, I didn't put this in the pattern because I ended up having to, I think, I ended up cutting out, like I might have gotten a tangle or something. Oh, I ripped back apart and I just threw away. Like if you've ever used mohair and fingering together, trying to separate it is a nightmare. And so I just threw it away. And so I would have used like every scrap, but I ran out a little bit. So I think on one of, I think it's just my bind off maybe it's not my bind off down here, somewhere in here. I actually used a different skein of yarn held with my mohair. But you can't tell. It was really, really close. It was surprisingly close in pattern color, even though they were the yarns were nothing alike. In terms of, like, they weren't the same dye or the same color, any of that stuff. But I used, for the fingering weight yarn, I used Brujeria Lana in Bay's Feet. The color is Cotton Candy, so that was the fingering weight. I can't show you what it looks like because there is none left. And then the mohair is Cloud Yarn Company, which is a local to Minnesota company, but she doesn't dye anymore either. Both of them I don't think dye anymore, which is wild, but it was nice to get this yarn actually used and out of my stash. But it is so pretty. I wonder if I have a picture. Okay, I'll put a picture up of what the yarns looked like caked up so you can see what they looked like before they were knit together. But it is so nice. These colors complement each other so well. It's like they were made for each other. I love it. There's like little pops of pink and green and purple throughout. And some people were talking about how, you know, it kind of like they said that the fabric bunches right here. I don't really think that's an issue. I think that the vest is super cozy. I am so glad I knit it. I actually, when I was working on it, was like, what use would I have for something like this? And I think this is great over a long sleeve. And I also think it is really good for sort of like a cool, even maybe humid morning, if you're just like sitting and it's not sunny. Like I'm thinking when we in the morning walk up to the local coffee shop, walking up there probably would suck wearing this, probably be really hot and sweaty. But if you're just sitting there and it's shady and it's a little cool, maybe breezy, this is like perfect. Like I would imagine if you lived on like the West Coast, I'm thinking like the Bay Area or like Seattle or something, this would be really, really nice in the mornings if you like layering. I personally don't like layering so much. I want to just be wearing what I'm going to be wearing. But so that's why I'm thinking like this would be great for the fall. I have a few like under like shirts that I specifically have that are long sleeve shirts that I wear under things, like sweaters that have half sleeves and you know, that kind of thing. So I think this would actually be perfect for it. I love this V, it's like the perfect length. Yeah, I love everything about this. I was such a fun test knit. It was nice to test knit for someone new, and to show off like their good work. So that is the Sleeveless Gal by Twin Stitches Designs, and that recently was released, so you can make it. And that took me a little over a month. The next thing I finished was the Sunday sweater by Petite Knit. I love this, and this is knit in Knit Picks Wonder Fluff. I love me some Wonder Fluff, and I really just wanted like a cozy pullover that wasn't just the Turtle Dove by Espace Tricot. Not that I don't love that, and I wouldn't make it again because I love it. It's such a fast pattern. But I was like, what's something else I can do with Wonder Fluff? So I love this. It is a fold over collar and a ribbed yoke, and then balloon sleeves at the end with really light ribbing. I can't remember if this is a sewn bind off now. It's been a little while. I finished it in May. I knit the size large with US 10 and US 10.5 needles. I don't know, now that I'm thinking about it, if it actually calls for US size 10.5 or if it's 10 and 6 millimeter and 7 millimeter. I feel like that's pretty common for 7 millimeter to be requested, and then US I don't think has 7 millimeter, or it's not common anyway. So I'm getting that confused because I know that 7 millimeter is hard, I think, to get in crochet hooks, but I feel like I end up using 10.5s when they want us to use not 11s, but something of it, I don't know. Anyway, I used 10, 10.5, and this is Knit Picks Wonder Fluff in the Royal Heather colorway. I don't have how many skeins I used. I should weigh it, and then that you know how much I used, by how much grams. Not too much to say about it. It's nice and long. It does not have a split hem, so the Turtle Dove does. It has just like 2 inches on the bottom hem, and it's just a nice cozy sweater. I love it. I love Knit Picks Wonder Fluff. It's so cost efficient and so soft. Like, it's not itchy at all, and it has like this beautiful halo. And that's my hair, to ignore that. Yeah, it has like interesting, I feel like you can't see, but a lot of these like fibers that are sticking out are like red and pink and blue. Yeah, I love it so much. No complaints about this sweater. I think it was fun, easy. I just had to sit down and do it. And I feel so accomplished. Also, I've been looking down at my iPad, by the way. That's why I'm always looking down. Have you gotten all of those projects done? What, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects finished since my last podcast? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so finishing 6 projects since my last podcast, I think is a great accomplishment. So right now, let's think here. What do I have left on the needles? I told you at the beginning of this podcast that I had 7 because I was going by 7 spots with no pictures, but right before I started filming, I had Steve take pictures of me in the Prismatic sweater, so I actually have 6 unfinished projects. I did recently decide I was going to frog look at my holes. I think I picked the wrong yarn for it. I was not enjoying knitting the pattern. I was not enjoying the yarn. I was trying to use Tony Lipsy's Happy Place or Hobie's Happy Place. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it felt. Like, the yarn itself is really soft. It's a cotton. I think it's a cotton wool blend, but it's still cotton hurts my fingers. And I kept messing up the pattern repeats. I just think it's not the time for it. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to force myself to finish this in this yarn. I can do something else. And I decided to just frog it. So let's talk about my remaining projects and what I'm going to do with them. I have the Slay All Day Advent wrap up. This one's kind of a sad one. I started it 2 weeks before I gave birth. I was thinking, okay, this is a simple, repetitious pattern that uses Advent yarn. And I decided I was going to use my Artemis Yarns Advent from a few years ago. And Artemis Yarns is not cheap. It's really pretty. And the theme was like, I think, Greek gods and goddesses. And so it's like a really fun theme. And I started this Advent wrap, and I think I just really didn't like how it was coming out. And what's really unfortunate is I'm pretty sure once I used each color, I tossed it because it was like, I was about to have my baby. I was trying to like just keep inventory down. I was like, I'm never gonna use the rest of this for anything. And now I'm like, I kind of want to frog it and do something else with it. I don't like how it was coming out. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with that. I don't think I'm gonna finish it though, so I might as well just frog it. If I locate the project, I'll put a picture in what it currently looks like. But I had started that, yeah, on April 2nd, and then I haven't touched it since like the day before I went into labor, so like the 13th or the 12th or 13th or something of April of 2023. I called them the Ice Gingerbread Socks. Yes, I was thinking of a different project. So the Ice Gingerbread Socks by Kayla M. Anderson. I have a kit for it. My plan was to make a pair of socks for me, Quinn, and Steve. That is still my plan, but I'm not wanting to do holiday knitting right now. So I'm so excited for the pattern. I'm so excited for the pairs of socks. I'm gonna sneeze. But I don't want to do it right now. So I'm not going to frog those. Those ones are for me. And it says 50%, so I must have finished the first sock, and now I need to start the second sock or continue the first sock, or continue this, like I might have cast on for the second sock, but not continued. So I need to do those. I will. That's something I'm going to keep. So I'll keep those in my, my whips. I have a whip for the twist pullover by Kitty Winks Knits that I was going to knit for Quinn. I did cast on for it and I just started it, and then there was something about it that immediately put me off. It might have been the way the instructions were, or like how it's a bunch of teeny cables, and so it might have just required more brain power than I was willing to give in the moment. I probably will frog it. I still might do the pattern and still might use the yarn for that pattern. I was trying to use the Haiku Scasel Simplicity spray, so that it must be a DK. Yeah, a DK pullover. It is really cute, and it's just for the yoke. The cables aren't for the whole sweater. Okay, so it says it's knitted top down. At the underarm, stitches are placed on holders for the sleeves, and the bodies continue to one piece. The sleeves then are worked top down too and are seamless. Yeah, so I don't know what the problem is. What put me off? I don't know if it was maybe a chart, or maybe it's not charted and maybe it's written. I'd have to go back and look, but there was something that right when I finished the collar, I was like, oh God, and then I put it down. But I did pick the 12-month size, and Quinn is already, I started this in December. Oh, that's really funny. I started this in beginning of December of 2023. So I was hoping to get it, I guess, for him over the winters at some point, but we had such a mild winter, and yeah, he's in 18-month clothes right now. So I need to frog it anyway and start it at a later date in like his correct size. So that one's gonna be on the frog train. The next one I have is Ardia by Ksenia Nadion, and that one's Hobie Happy Place Solid in Sky Blue. Wait, I forgot that I was going to, I was trying it not in, I was gonna do a long version of the Ardia, not in the Zoe cotton linen, because I wanted to try it. And that was the one where I cast on size 3/4 and knit 12 rows before I realized that it was way too long. With 116 stitches, my back was going to be 32 inches unblocked, and the pattern says it should be 19 inches. Okay, and so again, this is where I just need to accept that if I'm going to work on a project, I need to just size down my needles to reach actual gauge. So I'm gonna frog that. that one's gonna absolutely be frogged. I'm not gonna knit that in Happy Place. And I did rip it back and redo the cast on. I think I might have knit a couple of rows, but that's it. And then I have a pair of ribbed socks. Again, I'll put a picture here of what they look like. I have no idea what the pattern was. I don't see a pattern in my Knit Companion, which, here's my plug for Knit Companion. I think it's like $15 a year. So worth it. Love Knit Companion. Can take it anywhere, can do anything. It doesn't require the internet if you already have the patterns in Knit Companion. I don't know what I would do without Knit Companion. I love Knit Companion so much. But yeah, I can't find a pattern. It must be, I think I had this thought to myself, it must be a pattern from an ebook that I have actually in Knit Companion. I just have to find the pattern and see what I did. I think that's what it is. But it's a pair of ribbed socks, including a ribbed heel. And I had finished the first pair of socks years. I don't even have a date that I started. Okay, I created the page in May 2024. I had to have knit those socks like in 2021 or 2022, or that pair of socks, that one sock, and it was from a kit that I bought from Sauzier, and I definitely was working on the sock on the way home from Madison, because Sauzier is in Verona, just outside of Madison, Wisconsin. And I love the two yarns together, so I do need to cast on the second sock and get started on that. It's not going to be a big deal, it's just a lot of ribbing, so that's what I got to do there. So I will do that. Yeah, because this is one size 56 stitches, so I just have to figure out what's going on there. I don't know. And I don't know what the yarn is. I don't know. It wasn't in the bag. It wasn't in the stuff. I don't know, but I bought it from Knit Circus. From Sauzier. Honestly, I wonder if I have a podcast that talked about it at all back then. I doubt I did. So frustrating. Sean, if you're watching this and you have the same yarn, because I think we bought the same yarn, tell me what that yarn is. Maybe I'll message you. And then the last thing that I'm working on that I just started, and I'm so excited, it's in this project bag. Do I know who this project bag is? Wuthering Sheep. Oh, speaking of project bags, so Steve and I have started this amazing thing where we went through all my project bags again recently, and we really just didn't want to get rid of barely any of them. And I have a lot, not like an insane amount, like they all fit in like a basket, but I seem to sort of only use the same like 3 or 4 project bags. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna have the project bags, you should use the project bags. If you're not gonna use the project bags, you need to get rid of the project bags. And so we came up with a system where when I'm starting a new project, I say, Steve, I need a project bag. And then he looks at the yarn and he looks at the project, he checks the vibes, and then he goes and finds me a project bag. And that has worked out so well. Like every single time he brings me a project bag, I'm like, yes. And for some reason, it's just something I can't do myself. So I am working on the Chibi Mayu by Noriko Ho, or Nori-chan Knits. And I am knitting the size 0 to 6 months. And this is going to be a gift. So actually, I'll just show you the yarn. It's so cute. This is just Plymouth yarn, Dream Baby DK, 50% acrylic, 50% nylon. It's super, super soft, very easy to care for. And it's like a soft pink, like the base yarn is a very, very soft pink with these little pink pops. And then I'll put a picture of what the actual like pattern looks like. I did size down, so it calls for, I think, size 4 and 6 needles, and I am using size 3 and 5 needles. And I am knitting this for a friend who is having a baby in November, and I'm so excited. Baby stuff works up so quick. And now that I've had a baby, I feel like I can better like gauge sizing in terms of like how long do I make the sleeves, how long do I make the body. So my hope is I can give them like a cute fun sweater for them. So my plan is to knit a couple sweaters and maybe a couple hats. for their baby. And having a girl, so like a sort of dress top style thing I'm gonna also make. It'll be so fun. So yeah, that's the Chibi Mayu by Noriko Ho. So yeah, okay, let's recap then. So of the remaining 6 whips, I'm going to be frogging 1, 2, 3, and then there are 2 pairs of socks and a top that I need to finish. And then I do have yarn already caked up to start a pair of socks for Steve. I do, in my ideal life, my dream self life is I always have a pair of socks going all the time, even if I'm not always working on them, just because socks are so easy to like make progress on once you actually have them on the needles and get started. And it's such a good project for like doing a little bit at a time. So that is everything. I am doing a ton of knitting, I'm like very, very into knitting right now. Steve and I were talking about maybe moving my yarn. So my yarn used to be over on this wall, sort of facing the living room. The living room was over here to my right. And we moved it over here, sort of in the dining room area, so that we could make more play space for Quinn. And now I still want even more space for him to explore. And like, he's not allowed to touch my yarn, but it's not ever been like a thing in the sense that like he hasn't come over. It's really actually hard to access this area. Like this dining room table is not even that big, but it takes up the entire space. Like I truly don't understand how people ate at a dining room table in the 90s. I'm pretty sure, I feel like Steve's parents did they have a round table? They must not have. Was it this table? I don't know. It's just like, it's a tiny nothing dining room. I hate it. And so it's like, I want more space for him. Like we do have plants over here on a tall stand that he could easily pull over onto himself. So, but again, he doesn't really seem super interested in it. He's more interested in pulling leaves off of the plants than like trying to pull the whole plant stand down. But we're just trying to like baby-proof this floor as much as possible. Like this is our like main floor. We live on split level. As much as possible so that he can access any part of it that he wants. I want him to have more explore space. And so we're brainstorming like places to move the yarn, not even just to get it out of his way, but also so like it's so hard to access back here. Like part of the reason why I have not been filming is like I have to set up the light and I have to set up the tripod and I have to squeeze back here and I have to get all my stuff. And so it would be nice to have all of my yarn downstairs so I always have access to it, or I don't know, in our bedroom if we can find a space for it. Wall space is like a hot commodity in our house. Like we have such little wall space somehow. Like in terms of like floor, to put things on the floor. So that's something we are brainstorming, figuring out as our child gets older. But in the meantime, again, still knitting a lot. I am working on using down my stash. I mean, I haven't done a ton, but look at that. I need to use all of this yarn. For a second, I thought I had space. I have some space in this one. So that's what I want to do, especially because I want to not have moths eat all of my yarn. Which reminds me, so I have, like 4 bags of largely, I think 1 bag is full of more commercial yarns, and then the rest are indie dyed. I think I'm going to put them up on Instagram for a Destash, maybe in my stories, and then add them to a highlight, maybe. If you are interested in any of the yarns, please let me know. The yarns that I do decide that I'm going to get rid of, if you're interested in seeing what they are now, you could like scrub through my, maybe you couldn't. I was gonna say my going through my entire stash video, but I bet it's like piecemeal what I'm keeping and getting rid of. But either way, I'm gonna put them in my Destash on Ravelry. So remember, my Ravelry is Eventual, Eventual on Ravelry. If you are interested in seeing what I'm going to Destash and you want some indie dyed, I think what I'm going to do is sell them for, I think I'm going to have them all like individual skeins be like $15 plus shipping, and I think 100 grams weighs about, it for shipping it'd be like $5-ish, $5 or $6 if you're only getting one single skein. I would be willing to bundle and figure something out with people, but it's sort of like an as-is basis. Now, I don't think a lot of my skeins have been eaten by moths. I also would be willing to check, like if you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this skein, can you check and see if they have any like moth bites? I can absolutely do that. I just don't want to do that up front every single skein, especially if it's not going to sell for a while. But if you are interested and you're worried about it, I can definitely check for you as best I can. So that would mean that I unskein it or whatever and then reskein it, so it might not be as like tightly coiled as it is, you know, professionally. But I do really I want my yarn to go to people who want to use it, right? Like I don't want to just donate it, because that's like, first of all, a lot of people who thrift don't always know how to use indie dyed yarn, in the sense that they don't know how to skin them up, and then they'll just be sad when they try to use it, etc. So anyway, it's all good yarn. It's just like yarn that I want to get rid of. And again, I'm not saying that like moths have ruined all of my yarn. It's just like a risk, you know, like we do sometimes get those little white moths, and sometimes they do eat a little bit of yarn. But remember that out of like 700 skeins, I think I had found less than 10 or less than 15 skeins that had been moth eaten. So it's not that many, but it's still like something I want to be careful of. But yeah, I think 15 plus shipping, if you're willing to pay that, I would love for my yarn to go to new good homes. So please check out for sure my Ravelry to see what I'm destashing, and then I will also post on Instagram as well. So yep, that's all I've got for knitting stuff. Like I said, I got married. I can post some pictures up here of the wedding, of the shawl, etc. It was super fun. It was on a Wednesday because it just happened to be our 15-year anniversary. So a lot of people had to work the next day. It like wrapped up nicely by midnight. My dad took my son overnight, which was really nice, and dropped him off at daycare the next day. And yeah, it all worked out. It was such a smooth day. It was so fun. Gorgeous weather. Played a lot of rock band. Took a lot of pictures. The food was so good. We brought our own desserts, which is from a local cheesecake place. It was delicious. It was so good. And yeah, people were like raving about the food. So I'm so glad it wasn't just me that loved the food. It was really, really good. The Arboretum has its own catering contract, and so we got to use their food and catering, and we did a buffet style, and it was just amazing. This weekend we have an annual family trip. This is our 4th year going, I think. Oh, speaking of moths, but that looks like an outside moth. And it's like my parents and a couple of my siblings and their families, and we stay in these, like, I guess you could call them cabins. Sure, let's call them cabins. And we usually get 2 cabins right next to each other, and it has like water stuff. Oh my God, you guys, it's been, if you're not from Minnesota or in Minnesota, it's been raining so much this year. There is like record flooding in the like central south of Minnesota. And so there is some pretty bad, like the town of Waterville is like underwater. I feel so bad for them and all their houses. Oh my goodness, like I cannot imagine. But across the highway is this like campground area, which is a lot of people who live there year round in like RVs and stuff. And then there's also people who vacation there in RVs, and then they have the cabins. And so they said that the water sports is closed until the water recedes. I thought it was supposed to crest last week. I haven't followed up on it. I think it's still flooding pretty bad. But they have a water park that's accessible and a lot of playgrounds and other things that are much higher up. But they said they're closing all water things until the water's safer and like the docks aren't underwater. So we might not get to do like the pontoon or anything like that this year, which is fine. But yeah, we're going for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Steve and I always stop in Northfield. Northfield is such a cute little town. on the way. It's not really on the way, it's like a big L or like a 7 or something. And last year we brought Quinn, and it was so hot. I remember being so hot, but it was really, really nice. And we were so glad we could make it work with Quinn being like 2.5 months old, and he needed a nap halfway through. And like, I just have like an image of Steve just walking up and down the sidewalk down like the main street, like with the little like thing pulled over Quinn so that he could stop being stimulated and fall asleep, and get like a little nap in before we had to drive another almost hour to Waterville. And it's just good. I'm just glad we were able to make it work. And now Quinn's a year and almost 3 months. So yeah, so that's what I'm up to. We are also taking Monday and Tuesday off of work after we get back to sort of like ease into it. This week is Summer Games Done Quick, charity speedrunning event that benefits Doctors Without Borders, and that's been really fun, going really well. Steve and I took this whole week off, and we've been watching Games Done Quick. I've been getting a lot of sleep, and working on my knitting. So let me know what you're up to this summer. How have things been going? I've missed you. I hope you have a wonderful however long until I see you again, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.